So imagine pulling off the absolute heist of the century. You manage to rob the most dangerous, highly secretive dark web marketplace on the planet, you actually get away with it, and you live like a total king for nearly a decade. Sounds like you'd have to be the ultimate criminal mastermind, right? Well, in today's Explainer, we're diving into the incredibly bizarre story of Jimmy Zhong. He's the guy who pulled off this seemingly impossible digital robbery only to lose every single penny of it. And the reason he lost it all? A petty personal grudge, a 911 phone call, and a literal tin of popcorn. Welcome to a story where brilliant cyber tactics meet just absolutely astonishing human error. $3.3 billion. I mean, let that staggering amount of wealth really sink in for a second. And we are talking about stolen wealth here, mind you, kept entirely in Bitcoin. This wasn't some quick smash and grab down at the local bank. No, this was a massive, unprecedented accumulation of digital treasure that just sat quietly in the shadows while the entire world was completely oblivious. To truly understand just how insane this story gets, we have to prepare ourselves to enter a very specific, very dangerous world. This is the realm of the dark files. We're stepping away from the regular surface-level web you and I use every day, and we're diving deep into a hidden ecosystem where the rules are completely different, and the stakes are quite literally life and death. Section 1. The Target, Silk Road. Okay, let's rewind the clock back to 2012. At the time, the undisputed ruler of the dark web was a hidden site known as Silk Road. Think of it like an Amazon-style marketplace, but for illegal drugs and weapons. And I literally cannot overstate the danger of this target. Touching Silk Road was widely considered a death sentence. It was guarded by heavy, military-grade encryption and ruthless cartel-level players who wouldn't hesitate for a second to eliminate a threat. If you cross them, you didn't just get a computer virus. You put your actual life in imminent danger. Section 2. The double-click heist. So enter Jimmy Zhong. Back in 2012, he was just a 22-year-old computer science student poking around the site when he stumbled onto a massive flaw. And notice the stark contrast here. On one side, you have Silk Road, fortified by cartels and heavy encryption. And on the other side, the weapon Jimmy used to defeat it, a simple mouse double-click. He didn't write some complex, sophisticated virus. He didn't fire a single bullet. He just clicked his mouse really, really fast. Here is exactly how this honestly the dumbest bug in crypto history actually worked. Jimmy would deposit 500 Bitcoin into a Silk Road account. Then he'd double-click the withdraw button within a fraction of a second. A tiny lag in the server caused the system to process multiple payouts for that single deposit. So he puts in 500, clicks super fast, and the system accidentally spits 1,000 Bitcoin back out to him. He had literally found a real-life infinite money glitch. And once Jimmy realized what he had found, he didn't stop. He repeated this exact process over and over and over again. Within just a few short days, utilizing nothing but his computer mouse, Jimmy Zhong walked away with an unbelievable 50,000 Bitcoins. He drained a massive fortune right out from under the noses of the most dangerous criminals on the dark web, and he did it at absolute lightning speed. Section 3. 9 years a ghost. Because stealing the money is really only half the battle, right? When the FBI shut down Silk Road entirely in 2013, they had absolutely no idea who had stolen those 50,000 Bitcoins. For 9 whole years, Jimmy became a total ghost, hiding in plain sight. Now, what's really interesting here is how he lived. As the real-world price of Bitcoin skyrocketed over that decade, his net worth exploded to $3.3 billion. And he lived like absolute royalty. He threw incredibly lavish parties, flew his friends around on private jets, lived in a sprawling multi-million-dollar mansion, and funded fake companies just to wash his lifestyle and explain away his insane wealth. He was living the ultimate dream, totally untouched. Section 4. The Popcorn Tin Best. So if Jimmy was a ghost, living the dream, and the FBI had zero clue who he was, how on earth did the most successful cyber thief in history finally get caught? Well, the answer is remarkably simple: ego. In late 2019, someone broke into Jimmy's mansion and stole a suitcase containing $700,000 in cold hard cash, plus a thumb drive with a small portion of his crypto. Jimmy immediately knew it had to be someone from his inner circle, someone he trusted who had completely betrayed him. Which brings us to just a massive, agonizing irony. Think about it. If you were holding $3.3 billion in highly illegal, stolen dark web Bitcoin, and someone stole a tiny fraction of that from you, Wouldn't you just cut your losses? Wouldn't you just stay as quiet as humanly possible? Not Jimmy. Enraged, his ego completely overrode his logic. He did the absolute unthinkable. He picked up his phone, called 911, and invited the police right into his own home. Let's move through the timeline and see how this all builds, because that 911 call basically built a direct highway to his own destruction. Calling the cops over that 2019 burglary put Jimmy squarely on the radar of law enforcement. Eventually, the police report caught the attention of IRS criminal investigation and cyber forensic experts. Once they started looking closely at Jimmy's financial history, the dominoes began to fall. They meticulously traced a tiny, seemingly insignificant old Bitcoin transaction from 2012 directly back to the Silk Road hawk. His 911 call essentially handed the feds the treasure map. And this whole crazy saga culminates in November 2021. Federal agents arrived at Jimmy's home, deceptively pretending they were just there to follow up and help with his 2019 burglary case. But the moment they were inside, the trap was sprung. They raided the house, searching every single corner. And what did they find? Down in a closet, buried under a pile of blankets, sat a cheap, ordinary popcorn tin. Inside that tin was a towel, and wrapped up inside that towel was a tiny silver computer drive. That tiny, 50-gram piece of metal held exactly 50,676 Bitcoins. The feds had found it. The entire massive haul from the 2012 Silk Road double-click heist, just sitting there quietly in a tin of popcorn next to a bunch of winter blankets. The ghost was finally caught, entirely because he just couldn't let go of a personal grudge. So the crucial point here is the fallout. Jimmy Zhong was caught, convicted, and sentenced to just 1 year and 1 day in federal prison. But the real punishment was on his wallet. He was forced to forfeit all $3.3 billion. At the time, that marked the second largest financial seizure in the entire history of the United States. He successfully pulled off a flawless dark web robbery, lived like a billionaire for a decade, only to essentially turn himself in because his ego wouldn't let him ignore a stolen suitcase. It's a story that honestly defies belief, showing how brilliant digital tactics can be instantly unraveled by basic human emotion. Which leaves us with one final thought to wrap up today's explainer. What would you have done if you found that glitch back in 2012? Would you have double-clicked the mouse? And more importantly, would you have called the cops 9 years later? Let us know what your strategy would have been down in the comments. And if you enjoyed diving into this today, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life mysteries and dark web stories. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.